So glad to be here. You may be asking yourself, why is a COO and pastor of a church speaking at JVC? And I have a couple reasons. One, we're really good at speaking to people right before they go to lunch. We do it every week on Sunday. Number two, I love innovation. Ever since Georgia Tech, beginning work at Bell South, AT&T, I've just been able to always be in areas, whether it be wireless or broadband, where we could really focus on innovation. In fact, one of the projects I was able to work on was trying to get rid of this. How terrible is that sound? How many have never heard that sound before? Look at all the young people raising. You were probably born in like the 2000s, but that is how we accessed the internet. And we were so excited about it, and we got 56K dial-up speed. It was fantastic. I mean, we were rocking and rolling. Yeah, so innovation has always been a part of what I've been able to do. Fortunately, I've been able to transition into working for 1122, and it has been great. It's been great to see us move from a startup to, I don't even know what you call it in VC world and all that, but we are, it's just fun to partner in this city, in this community, to make Northeast Florida and now South Georgia the best it can be and fulfill our mission. So I'm here to talk about stewardship. And so you may be asking yourself, why does this slide say, culture eats strategy for breakfast? And I hope by the end of this presentation that you're going to see that stewardship can be a huge driver of culture in each of your workplaces. No matter how great your business strategy is, and we're going to hear a whole bunch about business strategy today and tomorrow, your plan will fail without a company culture that encourages people to implement it. And so, I'm here today to say that stewardship is the way to make that happen. So the definition of stewardship is the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. So what is entrusted to you? What's entrusted to you as a husband, as a wife, as a businessman, businesswoman, as a father, a mother, a teacher, an engineer, a VC, an officer of a company? What is entrusted to you? I think as we think about stewardship, we can think about it in really two main areas. We have personal responsibility and there's corporate responsibility. But both of those can create a stewardship that drives culture in our workplace, in our homes, and in our communities. Oftentimes we only think of it mainly in that personal category, but I'm going to challenge us today to think corporately. So let's talk personal responsibility. We've all seen it: time, talent, treasure. Look, I love to play golf. I really do. I could play golf every single day and be perfectly content. Now, my job would suffer. My marriage would definitely suffer. My kids would suffer. And I may make a marginal increase in my handicap, but if you've seen my swing, you'd probably say, it's probably going to hurt it to play every day, to be honest with you. But there is only so many hours in a day, and we need to steward them well. And we each have gifts and talents that we can steward. I try to steward mine through serving on various boards in the community for ministry partners that I'm super passionate about what they do, like Boys and Girls Club and different things. And so I would just encourage you to think about what talents you have. One example where I first noticed this, when my kids were really little, just starting in elementary school, we're these parents that we're going to be super involved, right? We're going to be, my wife's like the president of the PTA, I'm on the school advisory council, we're going to make it happen. And I get in there and I realize, okay, these teachers, this principal, are so like laser focused on what they're doing to equip children every single day, that things that in my mind are little problems are huge mountains to them. It's a molehill to me, but it's a mountain to them. And I'm like, wow, wait, you're telling me if I got you 2 additional computers, you could do all these additional things in your science classroom or your technology classroom, whatever it may be. And for them, it's like they're jumping through so many hurdles to get through all the red tape to get a computer from the board or whatever. And I'm like, I just called up a buddy. Hey, man, you want to donate 2 computers to the school? I think it'd be really helpful, and you could write it off. Boom, we got 2 computers. Like, there are things that each of us, skills that each of us have that we can steward for the betterment of our community. And so I would just say, what are areas where you can just make a few calls and try to make those happen? Try to be in areas where you can serve there. And then we have treasure that we should all steward. You should be responsible with your money, personally. But here's what I'd say about it. Just be a generous person. I'm not saying you have to be generous to 1122 or to Rethreaded, but be generous. Whatever tugs at your heartstrings, be generous. Go towards that. There are tons of churches, tons of nonprofits in the city doing some great things. So just be generous. Now let's talk about corporate responsibility. We've all heard 3-legged stool. We have customers, we have employers, we have shareholders. All of those are in our community. And so the decisions you make that impact what you've historically thought about from your MBA classes or whatever, of just customers, employees, and shareholders, well, let's also think about the community impact of that decision that you're making. The beliefs and decisions you make today will impact your community. The way you steward those beliefs and decisions will drive your culture. And so I think the easiest way to explain this is to just use a practical example that I know a little bit about. So this is the Church of 1122's ministry partners. This is a handful of them. There are many more, but for the example today, I'll explain what each of these are. Since 1122 started 12 years ago, we made the decision that the first 10% of what we receive, we were going to give to our ministry partners and our church planting efforts around the world. Speaking of church planting efforts around the world, we have planted over 500 churches, non-1122 churches. These are raised up in their culture, an indigenous pastor, that kind of thing. But we have planted over 500 churches. Those churches today have more in attendance than the 12 campuses that we have around Jacksonville and in Georgia. And so we are trying to sow into the kingdom. It's a big thing, but a lot of that is from the decision early on when we first started that we will always give that first 10% away. And so it also has created some culture where the nice to haves just kind of go away, because we're not about the nice to haves. We're about the must haves. We're about what are we trying to do? What is our mission? And we're staying laser focused on that. And so that culture of stewardship has actually pre-decided some decisions for us. But that's at a high level. What about a specific decision? As a church, if we say that we are pro-life, there are responsibilities that come with that. It's a big decision. And it has to be stewarded well. It's not just a political statement. It's not just I'm pro-birth, but we're saying we are pro-life. So that means from, as we lovingly say, from womb to tomb. So how do we care for people from womb to tomb? And so we need to be all about caring for women, which is why we partner with First Coast Women's Services, no matter what decision they made. Whether the decision that they made is the one that we agree with is irrelevant. I'm called to care for them, and so we're going to put money and resources and steward our time and our talents and send serve staff there. In fact, when we first started this, we broke their model. We had so many serve staff going to First Coast Women's Services, they didn't know what to do. They were trying to figure it out. So what a great problem to have. I think if each of our companies had something that they were going after, we would we would break the infrastructure of these nonprofits and really try to raise the bar here in Jacksonville in this community. That decision also requires us to focus on women coming out of sex trafficking. So that's why we partner with Rethreaded, Hadassah's Hope, Her Song. We need to focus on children in poverty. Boys and Girls Club, sponsored by Grace. We need to focus on foster care. We better be about foster care. If we're going to make that decision, we better be about foster care. And in the last year, we've had over 100 families at 1122 become foster parents. And so we need to be about adoption. We need to be about, what about kids with special needs? We got to be about it because we're called to care from womb to tomb. We have to be about those that are in prison. They didn't make a right choice, but yet we are called to care for them too. And so we have multiple ministries associated with them. Kairos. We just did, in fact, we have 3 campuses in prisons. They're limited access, so you probably don't want to try to attend those. But they are in prisons, and we are trying to take church to them. And it's the full service. We bring in a full band every single week, and we have the full service like if you went to any of our campuses, because they matter too. We're in assisted living and nursing facilities. We're in 11 of those around town. They can't get to church, so let's bring it to them. Heartfelt Ministries is another partner of ours to serve that community. And so I would just say as I close, I challenge you, city leaders, business leaders, entrepreneurs, investors, to make stewardship a driver of your company's culture and watch how not only your company, but how our city has changed. So, thank you very much.